As I reflect on my core beliefs as a person and applying them to my professional self as a teacher, I would have to say that I've come up with three things that I think are very reflective of me as a person and who I am and what I try to stand for. I believe that every person has intrinsic value. If we as instructors and people can recognize every person's value, that there's something inside of them that makes them of value no matter what they've done, I believe that we'll be able to better serve our students. I think that it helps us to love them more. It encourages students to feel like they can trust their teacher if they feel like they're valued. And I believe that even some of the toughest students, as they recognize my genuine care and recognition that they are of worth, that they will open up at least some, and I will be able to reach them and help them as much as I can as their teacher. The next thing that I believe is part of my inner core and self is that every person deserves forgiveness. A student that might have made many mistakes coming up through the grades or is having problems currently can come with a fresh slate. They can come each day with a new start. I have this thing that I do with my children right now, and that I try to do with friends and neighbors and people that I have interactions with, and I believe I'll be able to apply this to my teaching as well. As I call it, erase and start agains. Essentially, what it is, once both parties have been able to recognize that there was a problem, talk about it, then we do say, you know what, let's just do an erase and start again. And when we do that, we just don't worry about what happened before. We move on with some solutions, like at least one small thing to do differently. And I believe that that will help students to understand that forgiveness can happen, that they're not going to have a grudge held against them. There's not going to be this pile of luggage that they have to cart around with them, and that they will be able to enjoy being able to feel successful and good about themselves regardless of past mistakes. Another application of this forgiveness is I'm going to have a no zero policy. Students can turn in their work and get the minimum of 50% no matter how late it is, except for once it's grade day, things like that. I think that a zero shows that there was no effort made, and if a student's taken the time to do the work, even if it's very late, so long as it's not past the deadline for grade submissions on my part, I believe that they should at least get half credit. An F is better than 0 points, and I think they'll give them more hope. It'll help them to realize that there's some forgiveness in their mistakes, that they have an opportunity to make things right. The next and last point that I would like to make for my core beliefs is that honesty and wisdom creates mindfulness. I would like to foster a classroom community where students feel safe to speak their mind, to learn how to have manners and understand about where honesty and where wisdom and honesty connect, that we don't just say whatever's on our mind if there's someone who it might hurt their feelings. Sometimes we need to you know, cut things off, not say as much, or recognize a word choice, things like that. I believe that there will be a safer environment created in my classroom as I teach students about mindfulness. Through literature, there's a lot of ways to show by example in text that mindfulness makes a really big difference in the lives of people if we just pay a little bit of attention to how we're treating them and how they're taking us, and to be mindful of the way we speak in our level of honesty, to try to be honest in all things, and then have wisdom in what we do and do not say, and to have more care in the way we deal with the people around us. I believe that it will help to enculturate students to be really good and productive citizens. They will feel like they can contribute something more by being mindful of those around them. I also think that it'll create a really special environment in my classroom, because students will be striving to be more sensitive to one another and be sensitive to the subject matter, to want to pay attention and learn about the core standards and all the things that we need to learn for all the testing that they have to do, but to be able to take something more from it and enlarge upon themselves as individuals. I am a very hands-on sort of person. I really love people. I love helping people. And I think that students that understand and learn that they have value, that forgiveness is something that we can choose to give or not give, but it's better to do it because of the benefits that they get as they make mistakes and are able to benefit from that principle. And then the mindfulness, I think that the students will be more sensitive to one another and feel happier to be in class and glad to learn as much as possible, even on the worst days. So I would like to close this with my belief that as I'm able to do these things and be a teacher, I'll be able to take my students around the world through literature, through each other's experiences, that we'll be able to go on a great adventure. I really want my teaching career to be an adventure for myself and for every student that walks through my doors.